Hello my dear beautiful bastards and welcome back to Fallout 4. Today's settlement is called Fortress of Atom and I wanted to create it here at the glowing sea, in between the destroyed factory and the crater of Atom. The gods cleared the weather just to show you what this place looks like, but then they reverted it back to the piss storm as soon as I started building. The idea was to create a massive castle, protected from radiation and used for experimentation. I started laying the foundation on top of the mountain to get a sense of scale for the structure. Before building the castle, I wanted to build the bridge and the elevator to it. Since I had the ability to place a drawbridge, something that goes really well with fortified castles, I did that while also using the same foundation as support. When it comes to the elevator, I couldn't fit the damn thing. Apparently the height of the elevators in the game is suitable only for scaffolding items, which is just bizarre. I had to elevate the foundation in order to level the lift, but then the stairs leading to it clipped into the rocks, which was shit. So now I had the brilliant idea of creating more bridges with the stairs ending in the middle of the destroyed factory. Adding the supports for the bridge was slightly fucky because snapping doesn't work under the stairs for some reason. Do the developers expect stairs to support themselves? That's some typical stairism that shouldn't be allowed. Another thing that I did was adding an extendable bridge right before the elevator, so now I had stairs, a bridge, then an extendable bridge, an elevator and a drawbridge. Lots of hurdles to get into the castle, which makes it very well protected. But that wasn't enough. I wanted an outpost right before the stairs, in the middle of the radioactive pool. Since I could use the industrial items, creating a room here was very easy and satisfying. Well, that's a lie, it wasn't easy or satisfying because of the snapping, as usual. It was very sensitive and jerky, which managed to annoy me within 17 seconds. I managed to create a longish room that would be used as a security precaution against any possible invaders. Now comes the slightly more annoying part. The castle items that I was able to build are somewhat limited in function. In other words, shit's fucked and urges me to grab my knife. The one simple fix to it would have been to add a simple wall, but no, I only have parallel walls, large hallways and dicklessness. After 200 years of failed attempts at creating something decent, I came to the conclusion that I would use the large hallways as pillars on the entrance and side of the castle. In order to successfully do that, I needed to extend the castle even further, which annoyed me because I knew as soon as I started doing that the building time for this settlement would go up a few hours. Without much of a choice, I embarked on the journey to add walls on the empty sides between the pillars. I used these half foundation blocks that had very shitty snapping, but after about 2 hours I managed to add all of them. The idea here was to have long hallways all around the castle with a single large room in the middle. Once that was done, I started adding these weak and thin floor items that would serve as a roof, but I quickly realized that it looked like shit and that it was weak. Too weak for my massive fortress that is supposed to withstand all sorts of nasty stuff that appears in the glowing sea. So I used the large foundation blocks at half height and completely covered the upper area, creating a thick roof that can likely survive even the craziest piss storm. I thought about this upper area that was flat and empty, but I decided not to place anything there, just the edge pillars that added this nice classic castle feel to it. The large towers on the side, along with the edge of the entire structure, made it look very impressive if you ask me. It may have taken me several hundred lifetimes to complete it, but at the end I was satisfied with the design. Now before we get to the interior design and the story, I wanna quickly mention the logic gates that this game has. Pardon the darkness, I was so annoyed that I didn't notice that my flashlight wasn't working. Basically, I wanted to create an airlock system where one door wouldn't be able to be opened unless all the others were closed. This can be done with a NOR logic gate. I spent 4 years in school to become an electrical engineer and I know how this shit works, but in the game, the logic of this fucking bullshit is completely different to what it is supposed to be. First of all, you aren't able to connect the generator directly to the gate, which means that you can't get any power to it. This automatically means that it is fucked and it can go rot in hell. Theoretically, with the NOR gate, the power that is within the gate should stay in the gate until all inputs get shut down. Once all inputs are shut down, the power from the gate goes to the output. Since you can't fucking place power into the gate, this is impossible and it doesn't work. I learned that I have to use an AND gate first to get the neutral power to the NOR gate, but it can all go fuck itself. Logic gates my ass, more like illogical doors of fuck. Alright, let me show you the final settlement. The first thing we encounter is the security room in front of the stairs. This room has no power and it contains a couple of tables, shelves and crates with ammunition and other equipment useful when trying to defend an area. 2 people spend most of their days here, watching over the stair entrance. As we go up the stairs, we get to the extendable bridge, which, once extended, connects to the elevator. The elevator gets us up to the drawbridge, which then, when lowered, gets us into the castle. All of the doors are controlled with pressure plates, and when inside, we can see radiation scanners, switches, and hazmat suits. The first switch controls the power going to the pressure plate that controls the exit door. Once turned off, it is impossible to go outside. The second switch controls the majority of the castle. Shutting it off closes everything, and only the exit door can be opened. The third switch controls the power to the main room. When turned off, it cannot be accessed. Since Norgates can go fuck themselves, I decided to use these switches for a manual airlock. I also wanted to use sprinkler pipes to simulate a radiation cleaning procedure, but it didn't work, so we can pretend the air gets filtered automatically. The doors on left and right lead to another airlock where there's more hazmat suits. I don't know what happened, but most of the armor racks and hazmat suits disappeared when I did the tour. It confused and annoyed me, but I'll take it as a sign of the gods that I have sinned and deserve the punishment. Once through the next door, we get to an elevator that leads to the top of the tower. At the top, the scientists take air samples to use in their experiments. All 4 towers are the same and serve the same purpose, and 2 scientists are always out here taking samples and making sure they don't miss a thing. You're probably wondering why all this protection from radiation, especially when we're talking about children of Atom. Well, these scientists were hired by a group of skeptics whose goal was to develop a formula to control the glowing effect of the ghouls. By doing this, they believed they would be able to ruin the Church of Atom and their organization would collapse. The only reason this castle is here is because the children of Atom at this location are very passive and do not attack often. So once we're in the main room, the left side is reserved for testing, while the right side is where the scientists sleep and make sure they don't piss themselves. I'm not sure why I used metal items, but I think it fits the theme the best. This is after all just an empty castle with a temporary laboratory created inside. The testing area has 2 parallel sides, each one with one chamber where the ghouls are tested. They inject them with various formulas to both induce and revert the glowing effect until they find the one that does both in a stable way. The ghouls often explode or disappear or simply turn into radioactive dust. The decontamination arch is used to remove the radiation from the chamber. 4 scientists are in here at all times working on the experiments, and they have a lot of different equipment that is used for the same purpose, to destroy the Church of Atom. This switch located next to the camera monitors controls the elevator outside. When turned off, the elevator can't be used, which provides a lot of additional security so they can work in peace. In a way, this settlement is very small and simple, but it is also kinda large and pretty interesting, and I'm satisfied with it. The industrial area fits into the existing scenery, and the massive fortress is designed for these very deadly conditions. Please do let me know what do you think about it, and feel free to give me suggestions for future builds. I have been Petard, your glorious lord, and may the blessings of Petardia eternally touch your butt.